Welcome to Learn English Through Stories. Today we follow the life of a woman who changed science forever. But first, let's go back to the beginning. She looked at the dark box. It glowed with a strange green light. It was beautiful and dangerous. She knew it could hurt her, but she could not look away. This was not magic, this was science, and science was her life. Her name was Marie. She was born in Warsaw, Poland in 1867. Her full name was Maria Skłodowska. She was the youngest of 5 children. Her parents were teachers. They loved knowledge and books. Her father taught physics and math. He showed Marie his science tools. She loved to touch them. She asked questions all the time. How does this work? What is inside a magnet? He smiled and gave her answers. You are a curious girl, he said. You will be a scientist one day. But life was hard. Her family had little money. They lost their savings when her father lost his job. They had to rent out rooms in their house. Marie shared a bed with her sister. Sometimes they had no heat in winter. Then came a bigger loss. When Marie was 10, her mother died. She had been sick for a long time. Marie never forgot the funeral. She held her sister's hand and cried. After that day, Marie changed. She became quiet, serious, and strong. She worked hard at school. She read every book she could find. She loved math and science. She loved to think. But girls in Poland could not go to university. Marie was angry, but she didn't stop. She joined a secret group of students. It was called the Flying University. They met in secret homes. They moved often to avoid the police. They studied science, history, and literature. Marie sat in the back and took notes. She dreamed of real science labs. She dreamed of Paris. But Paris was far, and school was expensive. So Marie made a plan. Her sister Bronia wanted to study medicine in France. Marie would stay in Poland, work, and send money. Later, Bronia would help Marie do the same. Marie worked as a tutor. She lived with rich families in the countryside. She taught their children and cleaned the house. At night, she studied alone. She looked at the stars and thought about atoms. She missed science. She missed her home. Sometimes she fell in love. One boy was the son of her employer, but his family said no. She was too poor, too simple. Marie cried, but then she worked harder. I will build a life of my own, she said. 6 years passed. Finally, Bronia wrote to her, Come to Paris. I will help you. In 1891, Marie arrived in France. She was 24 years old. She lived in a small cold room. She ate little, sometimes only bread and tea. She wore all her clothes at once to stay warm. But she was happy. She was at the Sorbonne. Classes were hard. They were all in French. She had to translate everything in her head. Most students were men. They did not speak to her. Some laughed at her accent, but Marie did not care. She worked harder than anyone. At night, she studied until 2 a.m. She memorized formulas. She solved problems in her notebook. She walked to the library in the snow. In 1893, she finished first in her class in physics. In 1894, she earned a second degree in mathematics. That year, a professor introduced her to a man. His name was Pierre Curie. He was tall and shy. He loved science and hated fame. He worked in a small lab and lived a quiet life. They talked for hours. They walked by the river and shared ideas. Marie had never met a man like him. He respected her. He believed in her work. Soon, Pierre asked her to marry him. At first, she said no. She wanted to go back to Poland, but when she tried, no university would hire her. No women, they said. So she returned to Paris, and she married Pierre. They moved into a small flat. They shared one lab table. They were poor, but they had love and science. Every day they worked together. They looked for something no one had seen, something inside the atom, something powerful, something invisible. Their journey had just begun. Marie and Pierre Curie were a team. They worked together every day. They studied strange materials. They studied energy and light. They studied a new idea called radioactivity. One day, Marie looked at a mineral called pitchblende. It came from a mine in Bohemia. Scientists knew it contained uranium. But something was strange. It gave off more energy than uranium alone. There must be something else inside, Marie said. Something new. She tested it again and again. The results were always the same. There was more energy than expected. That meant there was a new element. Marie was excited. She wanted to find it, but it was not easy. Pitchblende is a heavy black rock. It had to be crushed into powder, then boiled in acid, then filtered and measured. Marie and Pierre did this work themselves. Their lab was small and cold. There was no heat. The roof leaked when it rained. They stirred heavy pots for hours. Sometimes the acid burned their hands. Sometimes the dust filled their lungs. But they kept going. They worked for months, then years. In 1898, they found something, a new element. It was very powerful. Marie named it polonium, after her homeland, Poland. But there was more. The next year, they found another element. It gave off even more energy. It glowed in the dark. Marie called it radium. Radium was unlike anything seen before. It was small but strong. It could burn skin. It could destroy cells, but it could also help. Doctors saw hope. Maybe it could fight cancer. People called it a miracle. But no one knew the danger. Marie and Pierre wrote scientific papers. They shared their data with others. They did not patent their discoveries. They wanted science to be free. In 1903, they were invited to London, then to Stockholm, Sweden. There, the Royal Academy gave them the highest award in science, the Nobel Prize. Marie Curie became the first woman ever to win a Nobel. She shared it with Pierre and a physicist named Henri Becquerel. They won for their work on radioactivity. Reporters came to their house. Newspapers printed their faces. But Marie did not want fame. She wanted quiet work. She wanted truth, not glory. Back in Paris, she returned to the lab. She was now a mother of 2 daughters. She worked all day and cared for her children at night. She never stopped. But the work was hard. Radium was rare and expensive. To get 1 gram, they needed tons of rock. They had no money for machines, so they did everything by hand. They did not know radium was dangerous. Their skin burned, their fingers hurt, their lab books glowed in the dark. But Marie still believed. She said, "I am among those who think science has great beauty." She believed in knowledge. She believed in helping others. Then, in 1906, tragedy struck. One rainy morning, Pierre was walking to a meeting. He crossed a busy street. A horse-drawn cart came fast. Pierre slipped and fell. The wheels hit his head. He died instantly. Marie was crushed. She could not speak. She wore black for the rest of her life. She wrote in her journal, "My Pierre is gone." But she did not stop. She took his place at the university. She became the Pateng, first woman to teach at the Sorbonne. Students stood in silence as she walked in. They had never seen a female professor. Marie worked harder than ever. She taught, she researched, she raised her girls. She kept studying radium. She kept pushing science forward. In 1911, she won her second Nobel Prize, this time in chemistry. She was the first person ever to win 2 Nobels. The world now saw her as a giant in science, but she remained humble. She said, "One never notices what has been done. One can only see what remains to be done." Marie Curie had changed the world, but her journey was not over yet. Marie Curie was now famous. She had won 2 Nobel Prizes. She had discovered 2 elements. She had changed science forever. But she did not stop working. She believed science should help people, and soon the world needed help. In 1914, World War I began. Soldiers were dying on the battlefield. Many had broken bones or metal inside their bodies. Doctors needed to see inside the body. Marie had an idea. She knew about X-rays. They could show bones and bullets, but hospitals were far from the front. So she created mobile X-ray units. She called them Little Curies. They were small vans with X-ray machines. She taught young women how to use them. She trained her daughter, Irene, too. Together, they drove to the war zones. They helped doctors save lives. Some people said, "You are a scientist, not a nurse." But Marie did not care. She believed science was for everyone, not just for papers and prizes. She said, "You must never be afraid of what you are doing when it is right." After the war, she returned to Paris. She was older now. Her hands were weak. Her eyes were tired, but her mind was still strong. In 1919, she created the Radium Institute. It was a place for science and medicine. Doctors and chemists worked side by side. They studied cancer and new ways to treat it. Marie worked with her daughter, Irene. Irene became a scientist too. They did research together. It was a new kind of family, a scientific one. But Marie's health was getting worse. She had worked with radium for many years. She had no protection. Her bones hurt, her blood was weak. She often felt cold and tired. At the time, people did not fully understand radiation. Marie thought the pain was just from age or work, but her body was damaged. Still, she continued to travel and teach. She went to the U.S. to raise money for science. American women gave her a gram of radium as a gift. She smiled but said, "It is not for me. It is for research." Everywhere she went, people stood to applaud her. But she never liked fame. She said, "Be less curious about people and more curious about ideas." By the early 1930s, her health was failing fast. In 1934, Marie went to a clinic in the mountains. Doctors tried to help her, but it was too late. On July 4th, 1934, Marie Curie died. She was 66 years old. Doctors said it was from a disease of the blood. Today, we know it was from radiation. Marie Curie changed science, but she also changed the world. She opened doors for women. She proved that passion and hard work could break any wall. Her daughter Irene won a Nobel Prize too, and so did her son-in-law. The Curie family won 5 Nobel Prizes in total. Even today, scientists read Marie's notebooks, but they wear special gloves. The pages are still radioactive. They will stay dangerous for 1,500 years. Marie Curie was not rich. She did not care about money. She gave away her discoveries. She lived simply. She believed in knowledge. She believed in truth. Her life was not easy. She lost her mother. She lost her husband. She worked in cold labs. She faced doubt and pain. But she also found great joy in science, in love, in teaching others. She once said, "Nothing in life is to be feared, it is only to be understood." Marie Curie helped the world understand, and that is why we remember her. Marie Curie showed us the power of science and the strength of the human spirit. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more. New stories every week, told in simple English.